understands one thing, which is such a departure from Biden and Harris. You know, China doesn't have any leverage. You know, Trump understands the leverage we have, that they need to sell us more than we need to buy from them. So economically, that's one point. Diplomatically, with Taiwan, this is actually very encouraging and positive because things have been bubbling up over there, KT.
Yeah, and you know, you're right to point out that single most obvious thing that no politician ever realizes, right? But Donald Trump, a businessman, does, and that is China's economy depends on exporting a lot of stuff to us. And we don't need to buy the Chinese stuff. There are a lot of other places we could get the kind of goods that China sells. So China, that was a fundamental aspect of President Trump's first term, which is you can use that as leverage and get a good trade deal. The other thing is that it's now gotten even more so. I mean, the Chinese economy has never recovered from COVID. They're not doing well. There's a lot of empty shells and holes in the Chinese economy. So China needs to sell to us even more now than they did 4 or 5 years ago. So that'll give President Trump an enormous amount of leverage. But there's a second point now that's different than it was 4 years ago. China has always been a very needy country for energy. They don't have any oil. They don't have any natural gas, dirty coal. And as AI and high technology continues to demand more and more electricity, China needs a lot of electricity. Now, they're getting some from Russia. They're getting some stuff from other parts of the world, from Iran for sure. But if the United States does what Donald Trump says on day one, drill, baby, drill, if we unleash the American energy industry, we can make that as a major point of leverage with the Chinese.
It's another point of leverage, that's right, and another reason why being energy independent is so critical for so many reasons. Obviously, you've been talking to a lot of foreign leaders and diplomats. They all want Trump back, even though they won't say it publicly, you've been saying. But, you know, talk to us especially about, you know, Putin and Donald Trump. The Biden team is now rushing all this money out the door before inauguration. And you think that's a terrible idea?
Well, it's the Biden administration. They can do what they want. He's still president. But what President Trump has said on several occasions, and, you know, nobody speaks for President Donald J. Trump, but President Donald J. Trump. But what he has said publicly is that he's going to drill, baby, drill on day one. That makes us energy independent, energy dominant. And what that does in addition is it'll drive the price of oil and gas down, way down. That's great for us. We can still make a profit. Our economy thrives on that. But the Russian and the Iranian economies start crashing. They need oil at about $100 a barrel because the oil pays for that Ukraine war. And the oil pays for everything else. So when President Trump says, I'm going to end that war really quickly, what he means is I'm going to have energy dominance, energy independence. I'm going to bankrupt Russia, and then I'm going to force Russia to the negotiating table. Now, when I've been traveling around the world, I've heard something really interesting. You know, publicly, a lot of these countries say, oh, Donald Trump is going to pull out of NATO. Donald Trump is, you know, bad for diplomacy. I'm hearing exactly the opposite thing, even in Europe, where if the case I've made is that Donald Trump wants to have a stronger NATO. He wants the countries that are freeloaders to pay their fair share.
It's funny. I did an interview yesterday with an Argentinian network, and they said, what's happening with NATO and Trump? You're right. It's almost like they all got that talking point, and I articulated the same thing. It's about fair share. Let's talk for a minute about the Middle East, just while we have a few minutes here. Netanyahu, just moments ago, it's announced that he will dispatch a new envoy. He's asking Michael Herzog to extend his 3-year term, KT, until President Trump takes office. He's going to announce a new envoy tomorrow. Obviously, he dismissed Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. What do you see when it comes to the next, few months? Donald Trump gets into office. Obviously, Israel, our biggest ally, the work he's done, as you know very well, Abraham Accords. It seems like this administration has really, handcuffed Israel's ability to root out terrorists, and they've been at it alone with major success.
Yeah, and thank goodness that Bibi Netanyahu didn't listen to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris when they said, we can have the weapons, but don't use them. Don't do this. Don't do that. We'll put handcuffs on you. And because they didn't do it, they went ahead and had enormous success against Hezbollah and Hamas. President Trump has said on a number of occasions, Israel should finish the job. He doesn't define what that is, but he says Israel should finish the job, but they should do it quickly. They shouldn't prolong this, they shouldn't carry it out. So I think that President Netanyahu, or Prime Minister Netanyahu, when he's dismissed the defense minister yesterday, is a real signal that Bibi Netanyahu is going to finish the job. The defense minister famously was siding more with the Biden approach of let's have negotiations, let's not finish the job.
Information, truth, is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.